Good evening, everyone. Am I clearly visible and audible to all of you? Good evening, Raza. Guys, can you see and hear me clearly? Anushka, Niranjan, Punita, Neelam, Raza, please respond. All right. So I take that the connection is fine. Let's get started, guys. My name is Mayank Agarwal, and I am into this space training students for CAT for the last 7 years. I'm a verbal trainer and I am an MBA myself. All right, guys. Let's get started with this session. The expectation or the point of discussion in the session today is CAT verbal and specifically CAT 19. So, what we are going to try and discuss through the session is how CAT 19 was different from the previous years. What have the trends been in the verbal section? And what can we expect this year and the years henceforth? So, what kind of questions are likely to come? And it will be my endeavor that by the end of the session, you guys have some idea of how to approach your preparation. Because in my experience, most of us have the correct intentions. We are all very sincere and want to put in the efforts, but we just do not know where to start from. So that will be the objective, to give you guys some starting point, the starting point of how to go about your preparation. So before we get started, guys, have you looked at the actual CAT 19 before this? Before the session today, have you taken a look? Are you aware of the pattern? A quick Y for a yes, guys, and an N for a no. I'll try and minimize your typing efforts. All right, Subhash hasn't. Most of us haven't. All right, guys. So what we are going to do is we will start with a initial discussion on what the pattern is, what kind of questioning is there, and then we will talk about how to go about our preparation, keeping in mind what was there in CAT 19. Let's get started, guys. So, this is what we are going to try and discuss. What are the various sections in CAT and their importance? This is something I expect you guys to know already. The important components, what is the weightage, and the fourth point is what I will be very interested in: strategy for each section. This is the point I want to stress upon right at the beginning. The strategy for each section is different, guys. Each section tests us on a different skill and hence requires a different strategy. What I mean by that, you will soon uh, be able to relate to it. So, talking about the overview, right? We have three sections, as you guys must already be aware of. Three sections, 3 hours. So, I'm not talking about CAT 20, guys, because CAT 20 was a trimmed version because of the COVID situation. So, that was just a 2 hour exam. This year, we expect it to be back to a 3 hour test. Three sections, 1 hour each section. So 1 hour for verbal, 1 hour for logical reasoning and data interpretation, and 1 hour for the quant section. The aptitude test, then you get your scores in January, which is followed by, just a minute, guys. And that is followed by the standard process of group discussions, essays, and personal interview. So, this is something I think you guys know already. This is the pattern. 34 questions to be solved in 60 minutes in the verbal ability section, 32 questions for LRDI, and 34 questions for quantitative aptitude. The last line, every section has type in the answer questions. So theta is very simply type in the answer, meaning there are no options given to you. You have a question, you have to type in the answer, no options. The good thing about these questions is there is no negative marking for these questions. So you are always in a position to attempt these questions. Okay, this is all fine, guys. In addition to concepts, what else is required? We will talk about that. Most of you would know that already. What do you think is required, guys, apart from concepts? What is your take on this? What all do we need, guys? Something that we need that I believe all of you have is the intent. So that is why you guys are here for this session. Intent, understanding, all right. Rishabh, elimination, okay, all right. What else we require, guys, is the will to do well, the ability to work hard. So initially that is the challenge. So let's move on. Strategy. So that is what I'm going to talk about today. We're going to talk about strategy, how to identify our weaknesses and how to identify our strengths. All right. Talking about the verbal ability, because that is what the agenda for the session will be today. In the verbal ability section, you have 34 questions. Just a minute, guys. All right. So in the verbal ability section, you have 34 questions, 24 of which are reading comprehension questions. Just note, in case you are not aware, guys, 4 questions are sentence rearrangement. So they pick up a paragraph, jumble up the 4 sentences of the paragraph. You are supposed to arrange it in the correct order. Now, this is what the theta question is in the verbal ability. In sentence rearrangement questions, we do not have any answer options. You are supposed to type in the order that you think is correct. 3 questions summary based. So the paragraph is given. Then you have 4 options. You have to identify which out of the 4 is the best summary. 3 questions, odd one out. So again, 4 sentences, 3 of them belong to a paragraph. One doesn't. Identify the odd one out. So this is how simple it is. I'm sure you guys must have noticed by now that almost 70% of the test in the verbal section is reading comprehension. Now, guys, that means, and you can take any management entrance test for that purpose. You know, you can talk about ZAT, you can talk about NMAT, SNAP, any test. RC is the major section in almost all of these. Generally, how I as a student need to think is, if there is a certain question type that is being asked, it is testing me on a certain skill. So they will always ask you questions to test you on a certain skill. What skill do you guys think gets tested in RC? What skill are they testing you on when it is a reading comprehension? What do you guys think? Understanding, Anushka, yes, perfect. Ability to read faster, so basically speed, right, Rishabh? Agreed with you. What else, guys? Anything else? So basically, what RC tests us on, it's a very simple answer. It is the reading skill. And things like understanding, speed, comprehension, everything becomes a part or a subset of that reading skill, which means we understand that they're testing us on our reading skills. How do you improve your reading skills, guys? What do you think? How can I improve my reading skills? A very simple question.
क्या कितने बजे लमा
So, we improve the reading skills with the habit of reading. The more you read, the better you get. So, first things first, guys, I request all of you, if we are serious about taking the CAT, cultivate a habit of reading. To begin with, you can read anything you like. Read newspaper, novels, magazines, it doesn't matter. But first thing to do, make sure you're spending time reading. All right. Then, when we talk of skills, reading skills, we will discuss one or two of the reading skills in the time that we have at hand. Because, again, as I say, you guys must be in the habit of reading even as of today. But so far, you have been reading for pleasure. So the objective has been reading for pleasure. Henceforth, it will be reading with a certain objective in mind. And for that, we have to train our minds to read a certain way. I will try and talk about that in a little while. Okay. So, when we talk of the verbal ability, it's driven by understanding primarily based on reading and understanding the context. Goes without saying, you guys know this already. This is something we know. Okay. Now, we will get to the actual CAT questions and how the pattern is different and what all kind of questions have been appearing recently. Before that, guys, I want you guys to just read this small RC. What we have is a small passage with three paragraphs. The three paragraphs are on three different slides. So, this is paragraph one. What we are supposed to do, what you guys are supposed to do is read the three paragraphs and identify the main point of the author. A question which appears in almost all the RCs: what is the main idea of the passage? That is what you guys are going to try and identify. Once you read this paragraph and want to move on to the next, please type in a Y in the chat box and I will move on to the next slide. And after you are done reading and share the main idea, I will discuss with you guys how we should approach reading, how we should be reading the RC. Okay, please start reading, guys, and type in a Y once you're done reading this paragraph. Please start.
चढ़िया बुलटी नहीं है मैं बुलटी नहीं हैगी मेरे लिए
All right. I hope all of you have read it and understood. Please share what you think is the main point of the author in the passage. What do you guys think? Aridas, you are absolutely correct. Let's wait for the others. Okay, Anushka, great. All right, guys. Let us see how we can approach reading it and how we can ensure that our speed is faster. Right, Raza, agreed with you. Okay, so here is how I would have read it, guys. I start reading the passage, and the first word I come across is traditionally. Immediately, the thought should strike my mind that the author is going to talk about something that used to happen. So he tells me traditionally something used to happen. And when I have that, I also know that most of the times the author contrasts it with something that happens today. So traditionally, it was the first mover advantage. Today, however, so however is a word which represents contrast. It is about developing integrated approaches. So I read this carefully, just reading the word, I have this idea that there is a contrast. He tells me what happens today. I move on to the next paragraph. In the next paragraph, guys, I see he is talking about VCRs and VHS. And this is an example. So the moment I see that it is an example, I need not read it very carefully with a lot of attention. All of this information is likely to be the supporting information to the point made in the previous paragraph. So you can very quickly just skim through these lines. You don't need to be concerned with the minute details, just skim through. Because this is just going to be an elaboration of what author mentioned in the previous paragraph. and you move on to the next paragraph, and the same context is being carried forward, which means this is just a example and not something to do with the main idea. So the main idea is to be successful today, it's about developing integrated approaches. Which brings me to one of the more important points, and a lot of us make this mistake. Bear in mind, guys, not all lines in an RC are created equal. So while reading, guys, you have to be able to identify where to speed up, which lines to read at a faster pace, where to slow down, which lines to read at a slower pace. That is what you have to try and train yourself for if we wish to become effective readers and improve our reading speed. Generally, something like this takes time, and this is what we mean when we say reading skills. So, guys, I'll just share a couple of final points on this. Always remember, not all lines are created equal. Secondly, as a general rule, you see, the verbal section is so commonsensical that you can relate it to your real life. In our real lives, effective communicators, how do they communicate? In the first paragraph, the author tells you what he is going to talk about. So, as a general rule, make sure you are reading the first paragraph slowly with a lot more concentration, because that is where you will understand what is the author talking about. In the middle paragraph, he either elaborates on his main point, gives you the reasons, examples, statistics, or something like that, which is just supporting information. That is something you can read at a faster pace. Then, in the final paragraph, the author is likely to repeat or reiterate his point. Again, the time to just slow yourselves down a touch. So you need to develop this habit and understanding where to pace up, where to slow down. And with that, you can become effective readers and your accuracy and speed both will improve. All right, guys. Enough of this Gyanbazi. Now, let's look at the CAT 19, something we've all, you know, joined here for, are here for. Okay, let me first tell you guys how CAT 19 was different from the previous years. Over the last 6 to 7 years, the pattern of the CAT verbal section hasn't really changed. We have 34 questions, 24 RCs, that has pretty much remained the same. Up until 2018, for the last 4 to 5 years, the verbal section was the easiest of the lot. So it was one of the easiest sections, and people didn't really had much difficulty answering questions on it. And the same thing was expected in CAT 2019 as well. But when people took the test, they found that the section that year was much more difficult than they had anticipated. I will share with you guys the actual questions and the actual RCs, and you will realize the RCs were not difficult in terms of understanding what the author is trying to say. They were difficult in terms of the kind of questions that were asked. So, the way the questioning was done and the way the options were created. And 2020 also, though it was a trimmed version, the difficulty level continued to be moderate to difficult for the VARC section. So the section has become relevant again. I will first show you guys, uh, this is how the paper is going to look like. So this is what we have. Actual CAT 19, this is slot 1, the morning slot. So we had 5 RC passages. This is the RC that we are going to solve in a minute, and you will understand the way the questions were asked. So 5 RC passages, the length of the passages wasn't an issue. So you could read this RC on average in about 5 to 6 minutes. And then you had questions. So we will discuss all of this, guys, and we will also discuss the summary questions. Shall we solve the RC and then you will understand what I'm talking about much better? Shall we do that? Are you guys up for it? A quick Y or N, guys, and then everything will make sense. All right. So let's look at the first RC from the CAT 19 morning slot. Please read. I have shared it on a 2-page view. Type in a Y once you want to move on to the next slide. Please read and then we solve the questions. I hope all of you have read and understood the passage. Please attempt the first question. Aridas, you are correct. Subhash, please check again. Guys, please respond. All right, guys. Let's discuss this. A couple of points to make right off the bat. First thing is, you guys took about 5 minutes to read this RC, which means speed as it is will not be a major issue in CAT. So, a lot of the times we are unnecessarily concerned with speed we need not be. Secondly, I'm sure when you guys read the RC, there wasn't really anything that you found very difficult to understand in terms of the language, the vocabulary, or what the author was talking about. So, my request to all of you first, and this was an year where the test was considered moderate to difficult by almost everyone, including me. So, first thing to do, guys, do not be unnecessarily overwhelmed by this. Let's look at the question. The question is overall purpose of the examples of Casper and Glossier. Now, what is important is that before getting to the options, you try to spend time on the question and be very clear about what the question is expecting you to do. What is the overall purpose of Casper and Glossier in the passage? Let's first just look at options 2 and 3. Option 3 is definitely true. Sharath, it is true. They are exceptions to a dominant trend. That is true. But is it the overall purpose? I cannot be sure, because by the end of the passage, the author says they will also have to get into expanding their product catalogs. So, option 2, they might transform into what they were exceptions to, is better than option 3. It encapsulates the overall purpose. One of the things always to bear in mind is in the verbal section, you are never asked for the correct answer. You are always asked for the most appropriate answer. You will never come across a verbal question that asks you for the answer. They ask you for the most appropriate answer, meaning that if you remove the correct answer option, some other option can also serve as the answer, which means there is always the likelihood of two or three close answer options. You are supposed to think which hits it the best. Option 4 now, some of us may feel option 4 is the answer. They are facilitating a uniform distribution of commodities in the market. Now, this is something, guys, wherein we tend to go beyond what is discussed in the passage. Because our understanding is that the author is appreciative of companies like Casper and Glossier, which are not into expanded product catalogs. And we think that this is what he is suggesting. but this will be stretching it too far. The best possible answer will be option 2. The overall purpose of the author by mentioning these example is that even companies which which are into very limited product catalogs may have to expand their product catalogs. That sounds more like the overall purpose, and hence the answer should be option 2. Is that fine, guys? Everyone, a quick why if it is okay with you. Anyone with a different point of view, please share. All right, so just keep looking at the question one. This is the purpose question. What was the overall purpose? Let's look at the next question. Okay, please attempt this. All right, guys. Are you guys aware of the topic of critical reasoning? Are you aware this is a topic for management entrances, critical reasoning? Have you heard the term? Right, Niranjan has, Sharat has, great guys. Now, when we look at it from the outset, we may feel that critical reasoning, questions on critical reasoning are not asked in CAT. That would be a fallacy, guys, because over the last few years, almost every RC in CAT has questions on critical reasoning. Now, this is a critical reasoning based question which says weakening the author's claim. So, two things about this question stem. One, it is critical reasoning based. Second, the use of the tag except. Over the last few years, more and more number of questions are using this tag except. What this tag does is it makes it a little complicated for you to understand and mark the correct answer. So we have to practice questions with question tag except. All right. So the question is, all of the following would weaken the author's claims except, which means out of the four options, three weaken the claims. They are not the answers. You start reading. Option number one uses the word empowerment felt by purchasers is directly proportional to number of options. The author is actually of the different thought. He says consumers feel anxious with more number of options. So this goes against the author's claims, weakens it. So option 1 weakens the author's claim is not the answer. Do you guys agree with me on this? Right. Let's look at option 4 now. Product options increase purchasing power of the poor. Is that true according to the passage, guys? With more product options, purchasing power of the poor people increases. Right. The author actually says that when you have more product options, the purchasing power decreases. So going against his claim, weakening it. 4 also not the answer. Okay. In the passage, guys, the author was talking about lifestyle influencers. What do you recall? That lifestyle influencers have a positive impact on sales or negative? What do you guys recall about it? Positive or negative impact? Sharath, absolutely correct again. Positive impact. According to option 3, it is saying that they had a negative impact. Just read through, guys, and you will understand. So option 3 is saying they have a negative impact, again going against what the author was saying, weakening the author's claim. The answer has to be option 2. Annual sales growth of companies with fewer product options are higher. That is possible for a period of time because the author did say companies like Casper and Glossier are doing well. So this is possible. The answer will be option 2. Fine with all of you? Have you looked at what the question way of questioning was? All right. We'll look at one more question and then we'll solve a summary based question from CAT 19. So you have an idea of that as well. Okay, guys, very simple question. Please attempt.
अलाइनमेंट के नीचे
All right, guys. Again, another critical reasoning based question, most likely to be supported by the author. Now, also look at how we need to take help of the options. The options are framed in such a way that we just have to decide on two things: whether the author is in favor of more products or less, and is he in favor of higher prices or lower. I think all of us can agree that author is in favor of few products. So you can reject options 3 and 4. And he repeatedly shows his concern for poor people. So he is in favor of lower prices. And hence we can reject option number 1 as well. And the answer should be option 2. Is that fine, everyone? Subhash? So the question on the options tell you what lines to think on. All right, guys. So we do not have the time to discuss the entire paper, but the idea is, guys, we need to understand a few things. One is the speed isn't really as much of a factor. The questioning, especially the question stem, is where the crux is. So you need to spend more time on the question stem. Then over a period of time, when you attempt it with and read with a certain objective, you will figure out, and probably you can be guided through lectures, that there are certain ways of approaching the questions, certain ways of taking hints from the question and the options that help you mark the correct answer. That is what you have to train yourself for. Uh, the final thing that we will do now is look at a summary based question from CAT 19. So just give me a minute. And then I will discuss with you after the summary question. Over the last 2 years, what subject areas the RCs have been coming from? So, have they been coming from history, culture, finance? What all areas have they been appearing from? So, you can read up on those areas to strengthen your chances of success. Secondly, I will also share with you guys the list of reading sources from where to read for CAT. All right. Before that, let's attempt this question. This is a summary based question that appeared in CAT 19. Please attempt it and mark your answers. Right. Again, most of you are correct. The answer is option 3. So, in a broader sense, the author is talking about how organizations with hybrid identities are in a better position to have more individuals joining them. So the answer is option 3. Guys, we can have a detailed discussion on how to approach these questions and stuff like that. The idea in the session here today was to just make you guys familiar with the kind of questions and give you guys some idea of how to go about it. Before we do that, final thing, guys, let me share with you what subject areas the RCs in CAT over the last 2 years have been appearing. So starting from CAT 20, guys, in the reverse chronology, this is CAT 20 verbal slot 1. So the CAT 20 was held in 3 slots. This is slot 1. Look at the areas from on which the RCs were. Just go through it. So you had RCs on environment, then language or literature, as we may call it, origin of anarchy, basically history and culture, and then again finance and history, business and history. So history, finance and culture and environment, these were 4 areas, very important. So you can start reading up on these areas. Let's move on. Take a screenshot of this if you wish to, guys. This is what happened in slot 2. Current trends, piracy. So what is happening of late? Current issues. Again, environment, culture, and psychology. These were some of the areas. Just go through it. All right. Let's look at slot 3 and see the RC areas. Again, current trends, social encounters, current issues, Human nature, so history and psychology. Another RC on current issues, and this is finance. So you see, you need to read up on current issues, history, finance, culture. These are the areas, guys. Okay. Let's see what happened in CAT 19. In 2019, the first one in the verbal slot, culture. Second one was based on geography. Not exactly geography, guys. This was more about people's love for their motherland. So also related to culture. Then literature. Again, this was science based. How penguins survive Antarctica's cold. And again, current trends. This is what happened in 2019. This is the RC that we just read, guys. Internet shopping and online anxiety. You see the level of difficulty. Shubhash, you can contact the team and they may help you with it. All right, I will share the link from where you can contact the team. All right, guys, let's see what happened in this slot 2. Again, you see RC on environment, culture, history, business, history. So you see the kind of areas the RCs have been coming from. These are the areas you need to strengthen your knowledge on to begin with. So please start working on these areas, reading up on these areas. Any questions so far, guys, before I make the final few points? I will share with you guys soon the list of reading sources. So the sources from where you should and can read. All right. Uh, Final points, guys. Please understand the time is very limited. So the objective, even when we are sitting here for 1 hour, the objective should always be to get the maximum returns on the time that you spend. So when we spend this 1 hour, my objective generally is that the students should be getting the maximum value out of that 1 hour. Carrying forward this context, guys, I'm sure you guys are already very serious about taking the test and are spending a lot of time in your preparation and planning. What I suggest to you guys, you might be very sincere, but at times we are not in the right direction. The role of trainers today has changed from what it used to be 15 years back. 15 years back, if you could name the capitals of the states in the country, you could impress people. Today, it's about helping give people directions, helping people improve on a one-to-one basis. All of us are very different. So what are your requirements? How can you get to the next level? So my request to all of you will be, never be afraid of asking people for help and ensure that you get the help from people who've been there, who've done it, so that whatever time you're spending studying, you get the maximum returns on it. So that is my request to all of you. Uh, in case you wish to join the course, guys, let me share the details with you very quickly, what the batches are and how you can join. So this is the weekday batch that has already started on the 18th of June. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, the lecture is 7 to 8:30 p.m. in case the evenings are convenient to you. Weekdays. Weekend batch is starting from this Sunday onwards. Saturday classes 5:15 p.m. to 6:45 and then 7 to 8:30. Sunday 10:15 to 11:45. So this is a fresh batch starting on weekends in case the weekends are more convenient to you. 3 live lectures per week plus you get the chance to interact with the faculty through WhatsApp groups, wherein you can post your queries and they get resolved. So the price of the course is 44,999, but you use the code CAT OCR and it is available at 26,999. This is the URL, the link to avail the course. And in case you guys have any queries, this is the contact number on the screen. Just drop a line, just drop a hi on this number, and we will get back to you. When I say we, the team will get back to you. So Subhash, your queries like PDF of actual paper of the last 5 years, please post your queries and they will help you out with it. All right. And this is another thing, guys. A lot of us have a lot of doubts and queries. This is something which is free, a video counseling session. So you get to interact with the faculties on a one-to-one basis, talking to them about your weaknesses, your strength, and what can be the strategy for you. This is absolutely free. You just have to register at this link and the video counseling session will be scheduled. So in case if you're interested in this, you may do this as well. Let me share the contact number with you guys again, if you wish to. And after this, I will just quickly share with you the list of reading sources. So you can take a screenshot of that. All right, I hope you've noted this down. Let me share the list of reading sources. All right. You may note it down or take a screenshot, guys. The sources for magazines. This is by and large for business. And then subject area related magazines, guys. So history, psychology, culture, what to read. There you have it. All right, guys. I hope you've taken the screenshots or noted it down. With that said, I will wind up this session for the day with one final thought, guys. You only do an MBA once. Make sure you are in the best possible position to take the test. Do not take chances. We do not have that amount of time. With that said, guys, I wind it up from my side. In case any of you has any queries, I'm still here for a couple of minutes. Please shoot and let me know. And the rest of you, thank you so much for your patience. Have a very good rest of the day. Thank you, Sharad. Thank you so much. Thank you, Niranjan. Thank you, Subhash. It was great interacting with all of you. I hope to see you guys in the classes. We'll meet soon. Thank you so much, guys. Then I wind up. I take it there are no queries. Bye-bye, guys. Have a good rest of the day. Take care.
Sir,
Yes, please.
sir, I can actually message since the option is not available. So just wanted to ask you, like, will we also be provided with a study plan since the timing is less?
Yes. I'm sorry, I can't exactly get your name. What is your name?
Sir Advaita.
Advaita. Okay. Advaita, yes, there will be a proper study plan. It's already there. The batches are launched keeping that in mind. And talking about the amount of time you have at hand, yes, the time is running out, but we still have a good 4 months to go. And for CAT, Advaita, that is enough of time. There is no paucity of time as such, but henceforth, we will need to be very committed and dedicated, focused. There is a proper study plan and that will be shared with you.
Right, sir. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. All right, guys, then. Bye bye. Take care.